Hi guys, this is going to be a quick little video explanation of what your homework is tonight, factoring. Our key to this is understanding our factors, our timetables. So for our problems here, we're going to need our x, okay? And we need to remember the parts that go in our x puzzle. At the top is the last term, okay? So this would be a 6 here. And at the bottom is the middle term. That would be a 5. Basically, now on our left and right side of our x would be our factors. So we're thinking of numbers we can multiply together to get the 6. We're multiplying for 6, but then we're adding to get the 5. So hopefully you already have 3 and 2. Now we just write our factors in parentheses as x plus 3, parentheses, and x plus 2. Okay, so I'm going to go over a couple and then talk about some resources you can use to make sure you're on the right track. So on number 2, our last term is the 30 that goes on top, and our middle term, which is the 11, the coefficient of the a, goes at the bottom. So we're trying to come up with factors of 30 with the sum of 11. Okay, that would be our 5 and 6. 5 times 6 gives me 30. 5 plus 6 gives me 11. So this would be a plus 5, parentheses, and a plus 6, parentheses. Now, a couple things we talked about too is how the last term ends versus the middle term. Because if it's a positive last term, like this is 56, okay, oops, I can just go ahead. Our last term is 56, our middle term is 8. If I see 2 positives here, then I have to have 2 positive answers to give me 56. So if you're struggling with your factors of all the numbers to give you 56, because you always, when you're doing your factors, like if I list my factors at 56, I'm already starting off, I always start off with 1 on 56. Then we go, 56 is even, I know a 2 would go in that. We could have a 2 and 28. Then I can check 3. A way to check 3 is if our sums of our digits is divisible by, like 8, 5 and 6 is 11, and 3 cannot go into 11, so 3 wouldn't work. Then you check your 4 and 14 works. And let's say if you're not strong at this, this is where the little factor pairs might help you. This orange sheet that I gave you. So because we're looking for factors of 56, if I look here, this is a list of all our factors. We have 1 and 56, 2 and 28, 4 and 14, and then the last one, which I didn't list, was 7 and 8. So we're looking for sums, when we add them, give us 18, and that would be the 4 and 14. Okay, so if it's a number that maybe you're struggling with to get to those factor pairs, use your orange paper to help problem solve. Okay, so now it's the ones, I'm going to jump to number 7. All right, we still need our X puzzle. It's when we have different signs that we need to pay attention here. So I always start with the last term at top, that's our 8, but notice here we have a minus 6, so that's a minus, a negative middle term, so negative 6. So if I minus, I make that negative 6. Now the only way I can get a positive top is if I have 2 positives, or, well, that doesn't make sense because 2 positives, the sum is not going to give me negative. So that's a clue that lets me know that these have to be 2 negative numbers. Because a negative times a negative still gives me a positive 8, but a negative plus a negative gives me a negative 6. And I think some of you see this now. This would be a negative 4 and a negative 2. And now I have y minus 4 and y minus 2. Okay, so when I see different signs All right, we have to pay attention to those possibilities that could give me that product that's positive and that sum that's negative. Now, on number 9 here, jumping to 9, the last term is a negative 90. Let me fix that. It doesn't look too correct. Let me change my font. Negative 90. And my middle term is a negative 9. A negative 1, excuse me. Now, the only way I can get a negative product, because this is a negative 90 right here, the only way that can happen is if you have a positive and a negative. So here, this would be because I want the sum to be a negative 1. My bigger number needs to be negative. So this would be negative 10 and 9. And so our factor form would be n plus 9 and n minus 10. Okay, so we're just basically using our X puzzle to help us problem solve. I do want to talk about, I think we have a special, or didn't talk about this special case yet, number 12. You're going to solve it like you normally do. So we're going to have 36 up top, negative 12 at the bottom. So this, to give me a positive 36 with the sum of a negative 12, this would be negative 6 and a negative 6. And the only thing I need to address, because I think y'all already know how to do this part. So this is W minus 6 and W minus 6. The thing we have to recognize is if I see two of the same grouping, two of the same factor form, I have a W minus 6, W minus 6 twice, I can now simplify that as just W minus 6 to the second power. Because I have two groups, two factors of that W minus 6. So that's just an extra little step. But if you get to here, I will give you your credit. You just got to understand sometimes they write it as just that grouping to the power of 2. Now, when you get to the bottom half, this is where it says right here, you need to look for a GCF first. So if I look at this first one, I always check the numbers first and then check for your variables. Well, they don't have a variable in each term. So the GCF between the two, or the three terms here, is 2. So we're going to factor out that 2 first. Let me change my font here. This would give me k squared minus 4k, then minus 45. Then from there, I'm going back to my X puzzle. It's going to be a negative 45 at top, because we're doing it for the trinomial, and negative 4 here. Again, remember, the only way I can get a negative product is with a negative and a positive. So this would be negative 9 and positive 4. So my final answer would be k, the 2 still stays outside the parentheses, k minus 9, parentheses, k plus 5. Now, like on number 20, when you're checking each term for GCF, the GCF is the x. Each term has an x, and you take out the x, the smallest one. So we're going to divide everything by x first. This will now, 3 minus 1 gives you x squared plus 2x minus 48. And now we're doing our x puzzle with a negative 48 on top and a positive 2 at the bottom. The only way I can get a negative product is with a positive and a negative. And I want the positive to be the bigger number since our sum is positive. So this would be positive 8 and a negative 6. So you keep the x outside the parentheses. X plus 8 would be the next parentheses. And then x minus 6 would be the following. And this would be our final answer. Remember, keep the GCF in front of the parentheses. So when you get down here, you want to try for a GCF first and then do your X puzzle. All right. So I'm hoping this explanation helps you complete your notes. Hopefully just to help you make sure you're on the right track on 21. The GCF is 4. Let's see if you can get to the next step. 22, your GCF is 2. So you should be dividing everything by 2. So Do your best. Come to class ready to check and to ask questions. Thanks.